Hi guys, I'm Simon King of King Wedding Media, and in this video I'm going to be talking through my 5 favourite reasons I love the Aputure 60x light as a wedding videographer. So number 5 is going to be the build quality. When you hold this product, it really does feel like a well-built piece of equipment. The metallic shell, the adjustable yoke on it that allows you to tilt the angle, the tightening of it, the buttons, everything just feels very premium. Aputure have a very good reputation, and it's easy to see why with a light that's built like this. It really does feel like a superb product. Number 4 is going to be the battery options or general power that the light can output. As a wedding videographer, usually, particularly towards the reception and potentially the first dance, the lighting in venues can be very, very poor. Sometimes venues like to reduce the light for a more intimate feel, but as someone who's trying to capture those moments on video, I want to have them lit well enough so that the video looks good quality and so that you can clearly see everyone that is speaking or from the dancing. I like to control the light so that I can create a dynamic sort of lighting setup that I like. With the Aputure 60x, you have different mounting plate options for the battery. You can use the V-mount batteries, or the ones I go with are the Sony MPF batteries. I've already been heavily invested in the MPF batteries, which is why I went with these. And the Aputure 60x does come with a plate that sits onto the V-mount plate that you can then put in your 1 or 2 MPF batteries. I go with 2, but to be honest, I've never had to use the light above 50%. If you only go with 1 battery, it limits you to 50% power of the light. But as a wedding videographer, I've never had to go above 50%. I put 2 in just for the sake of if I'm using it at speeches and then want to use it in the first dance as well, I know I'm probably not going to have to change the batteries over at all. So a really lot of juice from those MPF batteries. Highly recommend. The other power option is it does come with a plug that can go in for direct power. But as a wedding videographer, I tend not to like to have cables running around. And also then that could limit where you're positioning the light. So your battery options is the best bet if you're a wedding videographer like myself. In terms of the quality of the light, as I say, I've never had to go above 50% power with this. And I generally find that 20%, 25% is roughly where I'm at. I don't like to use too much power because sometimes guests might get a little bit blinded by that. I did actually have one guest at a recent wedding, as I was setting up for the speeches. He asked me if I could turn the light off or turn it slightly more away from him. It was shining in his eye. And I just explained that I did change it. I did turn it slightly. I think one of the waiters had knocked the foot of it a little bit, and that had caused it to shift position a wee bit. But I did explain that when the speeches were happening, he would be turned to face the couple anyway, and it wouldn't have been a problem then. But that is one thing that leads me on to why I love this for my third reason, and that is the app control. So the Sidus Link app that you can download for free allows you to control pretty much everything about the light and multiple setups of light. So I have 2 60Xs and have them stored as a wee group. And I can jump in and set this up so that I can change the white balance, I can change the power. There's some quick shortcuts that you can hit to go quarter, half, or full power, and different color temperatures as well. The app is pretty seamless. It's instantaneous in terms of when you set your color, it'll instantly change on the light. So I'm super impressed by that. Where it is a little bit is sometimes I have to reconnect my lights after a week or so if I've not been using it. I have to reconnect the light, and it's just through Bluetooth, so it's never failed to connect a light, but it just sometimes forgets the ones you've had before. And I would say that's one reason why the app control is only at number 3 on my list, because I think it could be better. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's the room for improvement there with the memory of it. Reason number 2, I love this light, is the bicolor temperature of it. So you can go from 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. It's easily changed by either the app, as I've demonstrated before, or simply turning one of the dials on the back of the light. The dial can be a little bit slow to change. I typically change it through the app. As a wedding videographer, usually you're working with mixed lighting, because you'll have some natural light coming through the windows that is typically around 5500, and then most of the venue lights will maybe be somewhere between 2800 and 3300 Kelvin, something like that. And so matching your color up to that is really important. I did have one wedding where I previously owned one 60x and one 60D, and the Aputure 60D is one where it's fixed at, I think it's 5500 Kelvin, so not that great for wedding videography, because you're then working with mixed lighting conditions if you use that one. And in the wedding where I did use it, I had a hell of a time trying to color balance in the edit, and it came out okay, but I wasn't overly happy with the final color of that first dance. So from there, I ended up selling the 60D and picked up a second 60X, and been delighted that I did. So if you're considering one of the two, it's definitely worth the extra couple of $100 to get the bicolor one. And a wee bonus tip is you can also get an app that is called Kev WB or Kev White Balance. And this app's great. You simply point it at a light and it'll analyze that light and tell you what the color temperature is. And that's a really easy way to match up your light on your 60X with the lighting in the venue. And I've been doing that pretty much at every wedding since I've had these lights, and it's really saved me a lot of time. I'm pretty useless at judging a color temperature with my eye, so that app has really helped me out. And number 1, my favorite reason that I absolutely love this light as a wedding videographer is the adjustable beam angle. This is a lifesaver in terms of being a wedding videographer, where you've got potentially hundreds of guests walking around, and where you position your light can be crucial in terms of safety. When you've got it's quite a heavy light, and when you've got it quite high up on a light stand, it does create a very long lever that could easily be tipped over. So I would recommend buying some sandbags to weigh down your tripod that you're putting your light on, for an extra safety measure. But where you position your light can also mean that you could be the other side of the room. You could be quite close to the couple and need a wider spread in order to cover whoever might end up be speaking. And I've had both scenarios. I've had some where I can get the light a little bit closer and need to go with that wider beam angle, and some where I've been so far away that in order to utilize the power best is to use a narrower beam angle that will then, by the time it reaches the top table, the beam angle has spread out enough to cover the people who are speaking. Unfortunately, the beam angle can't be controlled through the app, because it's a mechanical change on the actual position of the light. So you have to do that manually, but I simply take a little bit of time before everyone's in for the speeches, position my light, figure out what sort of beam angle is going to cover who I want to cover up at the top table, and then go from there. For the first dance, I typically try to cover as much of the dance floor as I can. My preference is to use 2 lights here, have them on diagonally opposite corners of the dance floor, set the beam angle to its widest point and dial in my appropriate light power that I'm after. And this pretty much allows me to film from pretty much anywhere on the dance floor and still get a really good exposure on whoever I'm filming dancing. I have toyed with, for the first dance, having that sort of photography set up where you've got the two lights behind the couple and you're filming from the other side and you get that sort of dramatic backlighting. I'm not as big a fan of that for video because you still need to put your ISO up in order to get a decent exposure on the couple. And then it would also mean narrowing the aperture down to get the sort of starburst effect. And that's then causing more problems in terms of exposure for video as well. So for video first dance, I tend to go with a diagonally opposite corners of the dance floor as well. And you get some really nice shape on the couple for your first dance. So yeah, that is my top 5 reasons why I love this Aputure 60x light as a wedding videographer. Thanks for watching.